So right now I'll go over scraping the wax and applying new wax. Okay, so you can see I got some pretty ugly stuff here. It's pretty worn out. Don't mind my pads, they don't like to stay on for me. I gotta figure something out with that. But you'll see my wax is just kind of old and really nasty looking. And it makes my board look like poop. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get rid of all of this old, grimy looking wax, and we're gonna put on a fresh new coat. So using my scraping side here, a little tip, I don't have a lot of sun out today, but one thing you can do is leave your board in the sun for a short period of time and let the wax get nice and soft, and it's gonna make it a lot easier for you to remove the wax. But it still comes off pretty easily without having it soft from the sun. So you're basically gonna take your scraper and go along your board and scrape it off. That's pretty much it right there. And as you can see, like I said, it's not hot out. The sun's not melting my wax, and it comes off very easily. And like I said, guys, don't be afraid to use this comb with some force. It's not gonna mess up your board. I'm sliding it all over and it's not doing anything to my board. It's perfectly fine, so don't be afraid of hurting your board. Okay, look how much nicer that looks, huh? Compared to that. So let's do this back end too. And that's how much has come off my board. That's almost a whole stick of wax. You'd never know it, but that's how much was on my board. Pretty crazy. Unfortunately, I don't have the best of luck with pads. This pad has stayed on perfectly fine. Hasn't peeled up at all. Meanwhile, the whole rest of the pad has just completely come off. I guess it's just I put a lot more force with my feet on the other pads, so it rips off on me. And I've tried gluing them, and it still doesn't really do anything. So I'm debating on going padless. I'm debating on just running wax on the nose, in the middle, and in the tail, and not dealing with these pads anymore. Because I'm not sponsored and I don't get free pads. So it's not something I always have money to spend on, some new pads. All right. So there's our nice, clean board. Looking much better. Got some little chunks left on it. Alright, so now that our board is nice and clean, pretty much any wax will do. You want to make sure that you're getting either warm water or cold water wax for the type of water you'll be around. I always grab Mrs. Palmer's. I like the texture and the way it works. So this is the kind that I get, but you're free to pretty much get any kind you can find or that you like. They're always such a pain in the butt to just slide out of the box, so you're probably just gonna have to rip the box apart to get it out. But remember, this stuff is essentially candle wax. You don't want to leave it in the heat. Even like this, you don't want to leave it in the heat. It's going to melt and get really bad to use. Starting the wax is the hard part because it kind of takes a second for the wax to start applying itself to the board. So what I do is I do little circles. Just little circles, little circles. You gotta put some elbow grease into it, but it's just a lot of little circles. And I like to start with the corner. The corner is just kind of an easier way to get it started. So basically, you do little circles and it chunks up. It'll start to chunk up pretty quickly with little circles like this. And I'm gonna wax my pretty Exile logo, my absolutely beautiful Exile logo. I'm gonna put wax on it because I might need to put my foot up here in this area. And if I need to put my foot up in that area, it means I'm gonna need grip. So, unfortunately, it's going to be covered with some wax. I usually don't go any higher than up here because I shouldn't need my foot up here. But my foot shouldn't be up here. The furthest my foot should go is somewhere up here. But you want to have that grip just in case. It's good to have. Better safe than sorry. So yeah, you're just gonna go in circles and keep going around. Try to keep it even. Try to apply it as evenly as possible. Your arm might get a little burnt out. Your shoulders might get a little tired from pushing down on the wax and putting it on the board. So I kind of switch hands here and there. I mean, just look at how much nicer the fresh wax looks instead of having all that gunky mess, you know? I just want people to know there's nothing wrong with covering your board in wax. You do not want to miss out on any traction. It's going to help you a lot. And you know what? The thing is I kind of realized when I put new wax on my board, you can see how white it looks. It's very white and it's bright. When I'm dropping my board, I can kind of see a little bit better on where I need to put my feet as I'm dropping the board. It's easier to spot the fresh white wax than it is to spot the sandy, gunky wax. So out of my peripheral, I can see this better, and it allows me to just more easily find the spot that I need to put my foot. And when I get tired of using the one corner, I'm just gonna start using the other pointy end and kind of just go back up top and start getting it a little thicker, moving around a little bit more, trying to get everything nice and even. And you know, another thing that I realized is that when my feet touch fresh wax, I can feel it. I can feel that I have fresh wax, and it almost reinforces the idea that I can do better. I feel more comfortable knowing that I have fresh wax under my feet. And you know, like I said, I kind of just make sure I'm always using a corner. When a side gets too flat, I switch to a pointy edge. I don't really use this section of the board. My back foot comes into this area. My front foot comes in this area. So this area is kind of a dead zone. So honestly, I don't even really wax it. I will move back here and I'll do the back instead. It's a little bit of work. It takes some time. It's definitely not something you want to do when you show up to the beach and the waves are firing. So you want to make sure that you give yourself some time, maybe at home. I mean, you can sit at home. I mean, you can watch this video and wax your board. You don't really need to be at the beach or anything like that, obviously. Always just find a chill time where you can relax and wax your board. It's just so important. It really is. And like I said, so many people just don't seem to realize you need to wax your board. You need to have traction. All right, and once you get a nice little base coat, then you don't have to do little circles as much, and you can kind of just go back and forth. That's when I use the flat end. I use the flat end when I'm going back and forth. When I really want to get a spot started, like back here, I need to wax this area. I'm going to switch to a corner. You know, this is something you want to do every now and then. It's going to help you out. It's going to make you feel better about what you're capable of doing because you have nice wax, nice grip. You don't want your feet sliding around. You want, and not only that, there's moments where you have to shift your feet around. Because when you drop, you're not always going to drop with your feet in the most ideal position. So sometimes you have to make adjustments. And when you make these adjustments, you want your foot to stick because the adjustments are very sharp and sudden. So making a sharp, sudden movement on something that's slippery is not going to be good. It's not. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of grip so that when you make these adjustments, you're not slipping and missing the spot that you want your foot to be. All right, so that's what you want your wax to look like. See the texture that it has? It's a very good texture. That's pretty much what you want it to look like. And I'm just gonna kind of go over my board and make sure that all of it is nice and even and thick. Nice, even, thick coat. Get it in all the little crevices. You never know where your foot might end up. What if you're trying to land a shove it and your foot lands all the way off to the side? You either will slip off and miss the trick completely, or if you have enough grip and enough control, your foot will land here and it won't slip off. And you can still somewhat pull the trick off. So, you know, wax helps in many ways. And you know, this is, I preach this type of thing because it's very important for beginners to not have to focus on keeping their feet from sliding around. You want to focus on being able to keep your balance and keep your speed. You don't want to be focusing on where your feet are sliding around. That's how you want to wax your board. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I'm glad you tuned in and watched, and I hope you learned something new. And I really hope that if you don't have wax on your board, that you're going and getting wax and waxing up your board, because it's very, very important. I can't stress that enough. If you want to get better at skimboarding, keep your board well maintained. Don't let your wax deteriorate. Don't let the glue inside deteriorate, and your board will last longer and perform better. Here on Stereotypical Beach Looking Guy, my name's Frank. Until next time, take care.